And hello fellow Taker Space Bandit here with another episode of World of Tanks, and today we're gonna do a follow-up video on the True Vision video that I did for you guys just a few days ago. And the True Vision event was happening last weekend, so I did manage to play on Friday, and I'm just gonna share with you my impressions as to what I think about this event and how gameplay will get affected with those changes. So just at the beginning here, I want to show you a clip from Arctic region, because if you get into this early position here, you need to have good vision in order to spot any of these guys crossing. But look at that, I don't have good vision in this tank. The crew is not the best, yet I can see all of these guys and I can keep firing at them. Unfortunately, some of these shots don't come off because of RNG. But for instance, if you would bring your autoloader into this position, you would be feasting. So I realized that for autoloaders, this game mode actually will be very beneficial, especially for very early damage. If you know how to get yourself in those positions, then you will be definitely benefiting from it. Anyway, let's quickly take a look at the maps. Some of the maps that I handpicked, these are not all the maps, guys, because there's so many maps in this game, so I can't possibly touch on everything. But I'm gonna touch on the maps that I think will be most impacted by this change, if it ever happens in the future. If Wargaming decides to change it in the future, I think these maps are gonna definitely be impacted huge. So we're gonna cover those ones. So as you can see, on Arctic region is what I showed you in that clip earlier. A and B lines for the North spawn, as well as 9 line, will be very critical, because this is where the tanks are usually crossing into positions early in the game. And for the South spawn, it will be 1 and 2 lane only, because J line is mostly abstracted, so it's not going to be any shots there for the North spawn if tanks were crossing there. However, some key positions, as you see on the map, F4 as well as C8, also position J4 is usually where tank destroyers like to sit. So those positions will be broken now, because there's no way you'll be able to poke out, because you'll be pretty much visible at all times. For Karelia, I don't think it will be that much, to be honest. However, 1 lane and A line, definitely tanks crossing through those areas there will definitely be visible, as well as in the middle. If you can get your tanks into positions C5 and E3 for the South spawn, you will probably be able to see tanks crossing into the middle, going into position G7. So these tanks will be exposed. Now, another couple areas to mention which are quite critical would be K6 and G0, because this is usually where tank destroyers, very stealthy tank destroyers, like sitting. So those positions will be broken now. Now let's skip to the next map. As you can see, we have Lakeville and Malinovka here, and Lakeville will be broken big time, because with True Vision, tanks going across A and B lines and J and K line are gonna get annihilated. Like it happens right now. If light tanks get themselves in early positions at E4 or F4 for the South spawn, but now you can see those tanks crossing regardless. So you could be sitting at the back of the map somewhere at B5 for the North spawn, and somewhere like H4 for the South spawn, and you should be easily able to see tanks crossing and putting early shots of damage there. So I see Lakeville playing out only in the valley at the 2 line, because no one would want to go into the city, right? Like, why would you want to cross, lose HP, if you can just go and try to push the valley instead? For Malinovka, oh my goodness, Malinovka will have so many lines of fire, so I'm not even gonna cover that. You can see from the sketch right here, all those open areas. If you can get your TD somewhere in bushes, scattered around, 2-3 lines and 8-9 line, you should be able to have a feast here. Mountain Pass gets affected, especially the crossing areas at D3 and E2 for the North spawn, and H6 and J5 for the South spawn. And I think these are the only areas that will really get affected as far as the early crossing routes are concerned. And I do have a game in my T57 that I will show you in my next video that will exemplify what really happens when people are aware and don't want to cross in those areas. Because I had a game when none of the tanks wanted really to cross because they were afraid that they will be fired upon. On mines, J line and 2-3 line on north spawn will also be very much affected because those will be quite open crossing routes, so people could easily shoot at these guys from their spawns pretty much. Murovanka, again, B line and J line for the south spawn, especially if you get your tank somewhere in the middle of the map or somewhere on a hill where you can actually see across and start shooting across. Right now you can still shoot at those areas, except you have to get yourself in positions that you can spot. But with True Vision you don't have to spot, so you just have to get your high ground, right? On Prokhorovka you can also do that, especially early in game when tanks are crossing on K line and A line respectively. However, it's going to be really difficult to do that on Prokhorovka because light tanks are usually scouting very aggressively in the middle at E and F lines, so that probably won't change the gameplay as much, although camping TDs at B2 and J2 will probably be affected if they're not sitting in bushes. And there's a short area at K9 where south spawn guys crossing onto the hill can get exposed if you can get yourself into the buildings at E7 or somewhere around there. And last but not least, the most broken map in this situation would be, I think, Westfield. Well, both Westfield and Lakeville, because on Westfield, especially on K-line, that whole side will be exposed. So if you can get your tank in the middle at F7 or E7, if you start on the north spawn, you should be easily able to come up here without any crew skills and see these guys coming up on top of the hill. You can do the same thing from the south spawn. However, it's a little bit more difficult. You don't have as much area to shoot at. If you get yourself in position F6, you can do that. There's a bunch of cover there, like houses and buildings where you can shoot from across to the zero line. However, that stretch on the zero line is not as long as it is on the K line on the south spawn. And El Halouf in general, it's not like you're gonna get early damage on El Halouf, but when I played this map, and I will show you a game after this from El Halouf where it will show you how many open shooting lines there are on El Halouf. So you have to be really careful, especially if you play in your TDs or if you're sniping from those lines that are specified there. So it's not gonna change the gameplay as much per se, I think. I still think people are gonna push A1, C3 area as being the most important. However, sniping TDs will be affected. And actually in the game that I'm going to show you, the opposing team played it completely different and completely unexpected. And I was just testing some things, so I will show you this game next, and we can get on to talking about True Vision in that game a little bit more. So yeah, we're on El Halouf, and we are in the M60 Tier 10 American medium tank. Now I've played this tank for few games, I don't know, about 8 or 9 games on Friday. I had pretty decent run in this tank. It wasn't bad. One thing surprising about this tank lately, it's, I don't know, RNG. It's very RNG hit. I don't know if Wargaming has really RNG'd this tank or what, but the shots are not going straight as they used to. And definitely it seems like I'm getting a lot of critical shots when I fire at the opposition, even the size of the tanks. It's just nuts. Anyway, as you can see, this is one of the lanes here, so I'm just testing things. Normally I would go up quickly into position E2, right? But here I decided to just scoot through the middle to see if anybody's gonna be shooting at me. And what do you know? There's people actually looking through into this area, right? I'm trying to hit this light tank there, and that didn't come off. So now we're gonna push into that area where I usually go to, which is C2, and this area gets really busy. You know, you get shots across into A line, and as well you can shoot into B3, and you're fairly already safe as well. So I like coming into this position, especially medium tank. But we're gonna, since we're the only ones here, I decided not to engage first to the right. I just wanted to see if I can catch some of these heavy tanks crossing. And now that we see the bat shot, we're gonna try to put some shells into him, but he's gonna back off. I see this guy knows what he wants to do. He comes up with his bat shot, and that's what I tried to do also in a couple games. I put a crew into my bat shot and I decided to play some of the games because in early damage, when you think about it, if you know those crossing lines in early game, you can basically feast if you're an autoloader, as I mentioned to you earlier. Anyway, you can see shooting lines here. Now take a look at this guy. So I see him looking at me, but I didn't realize, you know, if I can see him, he can see me as well. Right? And it just didn't click in. It was one of my first games and I'm like, what? So I'm gonna pay attention to that a little bit more. But look at that. He's looking at me right there. See? And that's what's gonna happen. And he's gonna keep on looking into this area. So I'm gonna try to bait the shot in a split second. I think that's what I'm gonna try to do. Let's see. Now it's not easy because you cannot lock on him. So you're gonna have to find that target, right? So I'm trying to look for the target and he's looking at me. I try to back off, but I guess he hits the top of my turret. Then I see this guy again and I hit him right there. And again, I'm going to try to just slightly poke with my turret. And I'm going to try to get away from that shot, but he still somehow pens me, even though I thought I didn't poke out that much. And just like that, look how much health I lost. Crazy engagement, right? I'm like, wow, this is nuts. I don't want to play that game. To be honest, guys, that's... Especially if the opposition sees you and you see them, it becomes an RNG thing, right? But here, like, I'm testing. I'm looking at on top of the hills to see if I can see anybody I can shoot at, right? That's exactly what I'm doing. So in this game, I already... And strange thing is that the opposition team didn't push A1 C3 at all. So that was kind of strange. So I decided to kind of drop back here and see if I can expose this map a little bit. See if I can fire across. Find some of the guys that are not paying attention to me, really. So we put one shot into this FV. And here we're just gonna stay here. But even staying like this, it's not very safe. You know, and again, it didn't click in for me, right? This is not safe. Someone can hit me. Someone could be scoping this area, hit me in the ass, and take me out of the game. So here I figured, oh, crap. Yeah. People can see me, right? There's no bushes. There's no obstruction here. So we're going to turn around. We're going to use our strong turret armor. Oh, not as strong, but stronger. And see if we can get some shots across. Now... Again, I wasn't playing this game to win. I was playing more to trying to figure out, you know, whether I can catch some of these guys not paying attention, just like I wasn't paying attention. And right there, we see a guy crossing. We put a shell into him. Right? And again, someone's shooting at me so they can see me, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like this game at all. I don't know if I like this, guys. I don't know if I like it. Instead of doing this, it's better to just try to fight up close and personal and just brawl it out. And I think that's probably be the best scenario on some of these maps. Instead of trying to snipe. Unless there's a lot of foliage and bushes. Here, I can see that guy again crossing. We're going to put a shell into him as well. Right there. But my team is falling like flies. Yeah, this wasn't one of the games that I won. On Friday, I played probably a total of 34 games. I had about 73% win rate, which was pretty good. I did pretty well in this tank. I had about 4k average damage. So, yeah, I was happy with my run overall. This was one of the probably worst games in this run. So at this point, I noticed my team is going to fall. So I'm just going to move in and finish up the game. I'm going to try to get another couple shots of damage, and that should pretty much wrap it up. So we're going to come around here. I see this Progetto coming forward. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to hammer a shot at him. But he stops at the same time. So we're going to get a little bit closer. We're going to put a shell into him right there. Just like that. There's no way I can save my TD at this point in time. We're going to try to bounce this shell. He misses. We're going to come after him. But here, I don't know what I did. I went back. I should have stayed in my first-person view. I would have taken this guy out. But it doesn't matter. He takes me out of the game. So we finished with... Actually, we finished with about 3k damage in this game. Because the shots that you fire at people that are not spotted, they don't register. So later on in the post-game stats, I checked and I was at about 3k damage in this game. Anyway, guys, that's enough about True Vision. I think we've had an interesting weekend, to say the least, but am I happy about these changes? Not really. I'm not too impressed. I'm already used to the game the way it is. This makes game one way a lot easier and sometimes a lot more difficult too. So depending which way you're looking at it, if you stay in the open area and you're exposed, you make your game a lot more difficult. But if you're in foliage, it's probably not as difficult because it will be much harder for the opposition to see you. Yet I don't think this will work as well in this game, especially because, you know, come on, people have crew skills, and nowadays anyone can get into the game and pretty much get into the key positions and be able to shoot you. No problem, because they can see you. I don't know if I like that aspect of the game. Anyway, guys, I think on this note we'll end this video. T57 video next, and that's going to be a dandy, so stick around for that. That's it for now. Until next time, happy tanking. Space Bandit checking out.
Nope. 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 Nope.